Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk to you about my record keeping and how I keep our records. I have not completed our 6th grade records for the 2019-2020 school year, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you our 5th grade because those are absolutely completed. It's been over a year now. Our 6th grade binders, I will showcase those whenever they are done. It takes about a month for me to gather everything and make sure they are organized in a way that I like. In the state of Texas, that's where I live, we are not required to maintain records or have portfolios or anything like that. But for me, being a project manager at heart, I absolutely want to maintain records just for my comfort and just to also so that it can serve as a way to document our journey. And if I'm ever asked the question, I'll have that information readily available. So let me show you the first record here. I will link a video. Look up now. There's a card. You don't have to watch it now. Watch it at the end of the video, or you can go ahead, watch that video first and then come right back here. But I showed you a few times in various videos how I keep our attendance, how I track our lessons, what my son uses, what system I use in order to lesson plan and to also just keep track of what we're doing throughout the school year. So all that stuff that you saw in those videos that were in individual binders, they were loose in little page protectors. All I did was take the papers out the page protectors, organize them in a way that made sense to me, and then I created two record portfolios here. This one here that we're going to talk about will serve as our purpose for homeschooling. It will serve as a way to show why we're homeschooling the way we're homeschooling, what resources and curriculum are we using. This houses report cards, it houses quarterly reports, it houses progress reports, it houses lots of information that gives you background in terms of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what we're using in that process. This right here serves as the meat and potatoes of the journey. What did we learn and when did we learn it? How long did it take for us to learn a particular topic or to complete a particular curriculum? So this here includes all of my lesson plans, and it includes my son's agenda. But again, look at the video and you'll understand a little bit about how we did that. So I said I would start here, but I'm going to go ahead and start this one because it's pretty easy. So once we open up this folder, it is organized by month. So you will see the calendar month, and then you'll see the learning goals that I had for that month, his strengths, areas of opportunities, areas I wanted to focus on. Again, the hours, both instructional hours, which is the amount of time it took me to teach a particular topic or subject. When did I help him? How long did I help him? So instructional hours. And I did keep track of his independent hours, those hours that he spent without me for self-directed learning or for homework or for projects or things that he did outside of him and I sitting down and doing something together or some type of lecture or something like that. And till this day, I like to keep track of those hours separately. And then at the end of the week, I would go ahead and total all the hours for each subject. And then it would just, go on like that. And I loved doing this on a weekly basis. This really, really helped me keep track and see how much time we were spending on each subject. And that way, at the end of the week, I would be able to look at this and kind of determine where our focus needs to be. Okay. I also included my son's agenda because as I was keeping track of the instructional hours, my son was responsible for keeping track of his independent hours. And then on a weekly basis, we have like a business meeting where we, talk for about 15 to 30 minutes, and we calculate his time, and we talk about what happened throughout the week, and we adjust, and we talk about what's going to happen next week, what was finished, what wasn't finished. So during that time, that's when we would look at his planner and look at how he documented his time. And I did this in the 5th grade, making him pay special attention to tracking his time and his work, because I knew once he got into middle school that I would absolutely need this to be seamless, without error or with minimal error, especially when he reached the 7th grade, because we're going to use those hours for the purpose of reaching our high school goals in certain subjects. So it was really important for me to start in the 5th grade again, to get him accustomed and used to paying attention to what you're doing, keeping track of the time, estimating time, and just being in the routine and the habit of doing that. So he would have his own, same thing. He would have a monthly summary cover sheet, and then he would have, his calendar, and then he would actually write in there for each day of the week what he was responsible for doing. And then his looked similar to mine, but it allowed him a little bit more space. And then he would have the due date, and then whether or not it was completed or submitted. So that helped him. Like my document, where at the bottom it showed you the total amount spent. What was the time spent last week? How about this week? What's the cumulative total? We made sure we hit on that. So here's another month. You have your weekly planner at a glance, which tells him again, during the week, what do I need him to do? And all this information was based on my lesson plan. That's what's in this binder here. I call it a binder, but this record here. Again, this record only maintains lesson plans, agendas, hours, tracking of hours, and stuff like that. This here is our meat and potato. This tells you all things homeschool. Again, this is what I would use to turn in if ever asked, what in the heck did you do this year? So I started off with just a picture, and then why we homeschool, why do we home educate. So this here gives them our foundational document of why we homeschool. And then the next piece or next component is letter of intent withdrawal letter. This is the letter that we gave to the school when we withdrew him. So this section in every school year, I will include this section in our portfolio or in our record keeping. So it's a copy of the letter I sent and a copy of the acknowledgement from the principal of the school that we withdrew from, and also the letter that was sent and a copy of acknowledgement from the principal for the school we would have enrolled my son in for that following school year. So that is that. And then we go into his transcript record. This was his 5th grade report card, basically, that was signed by us, and then it gives you the total summary of days and hours and things of that nature. And then next, this gives you additional information in terms of what we did throughout the homeschool year. So this is our homeschool report card. So I do 2 report cards, one for our student and one for our homeschool, and I'll talk about this in a different video. And this is just all the grades that we had for the school year that I documented by subject. And then here is our progress report on a quarterly basis. Like I said, we did a progress report where we said for all of the non-quantitative aspects of our homeschooling, what did that look like? What was the progress on that? And I will link a video as well right now. Look at it or watch it at the end of the video where I talk about how I incorporate progress reports within our homeschool. And then this is our curriculum progress checklist. So every piece of curriculum that we used, I just check off what we actually completed, the chapters we actually completed. Next is the actual student evaluation, where I complete a document that talks about every single area of my child and how did he do, what was his progress, and I literally write that out, and that just tells the story of how he has developed throughout the school year. I like to identify what I plan on doing or what I would like to do for each week, okay? So this may not occur, it does not occur on schedule, but in my mind, guys, I like to know what are we doing for the year by week, so that if I'm ever lost, I can go to something and I can, catch myself up, or I can say, oh yeah, we were supposed to do this and I really want to hit on that, so let me skip this and focus on that. So then I checked off everything we actually completed, and then I put a box around the things that we did not complete. As you can see, lots of boxes around things that we did not complete. And I just moved it on to the 6th grade. So when I do the 6th grade, what's this called again? My record keeping for 6th grade, I'll be able to check those things off. And this is all the curriculum that we used for the year. This is my course description for our elementary school. Yep, I write course descriptions, okay? And I think I'm going to do a video on my middle school and high school course descriptions, and I'll do a whole series probably on how to write them and how I pull the information and all that other great stuff that you probably want to know, right? So again, all the curriculum we used, resources, main primary curriculum that we use. I don't put like all the secondary resources. It's only the primary resources, the main things that we used for each subject. And then I also, something else I want to show you is I actually identify why we used it. So the subject, the curriculum, and why I'm using that specific curriculum. That way I can keep track of why I made a decision for a particular curriculum. That way, if I ever want to go back to it or I want to move from it, remove myself from it, I'm able to like go back and say, well, why did I use it in the first place? Okay, so this is all of the course descriptions, and I also put here the teachers that we used from OutSchool or from any other source. I created a bio for each one of them. I put the dates that we met, and I also put what we actually did, or my son actually did in that class. Did I have our book list of all the books that we said we wanted to read, and checked off what we planned on reading or what we actually read. So we planned on reading 44. We actually got through maybe 25 from our list, but we still exceeded 44 because my son ended up reading books that were completely not on the list, and I was fine with that. By subject, I put in my lesson plan and a copy of all of the primary curriculum's table of contents, okay? So for example, for math, this was the lesson plan for math. What you first saw was an overview. That was an overview of all the subjects by week. So that was like a 4-pager, right? 1 page front and back, 2 pages, I mean. This here goes into detail. This tells you by topic, what I want to learn, all the resources that I have available to me that will help me learn that topic. So let's say I wanted to learn, or he was learning fractions. I had Math Mammoth, I had these videos, I had a pre-algebra book, I had an Abeka book, I had other types of resources, Beast Academy, Life of Fred, Living Math. So in those resources, here are all the page numbers that discussed that topic. And then I actually checked off the ones that we used because that's what worked the best at that time. And then again, like I said, table of content for all the books that we actually used. And then we go into science, same thing. We have our lesson plan, and then table of contents of what we used. ELAR, a lesson plan, table of contents for everything that we used as primary source. Social studies, table of contents, lesson plan, and then everything we used as primary source. So in this book, we only did the first 2 units as an example. For this book, I only put what we actually did. For enrichment, table of contents, and the resources we actually used. For Bible, I put in the stuff that we actually used. Now, this administrative section, I will dive into it in a different video, but in this section, we have our initial calendar, actual calendar at the end of the year, our attendance record, all the schedules that we use because we changed our schedule, I think 3 times. And then I have our homeschool governance documents where I give my son has this, and we also put this in our record keeping so we know how is our homeschool ran. Okay. And then we have our student goals. I have a video on that. I'll go ahead and put a card for you as well. And our student goals, these are outcome-based goals. So in the beginning of the school year, I write out, what are my goals? What do I want to do in terms of our homeschool and in terms for my student? And then as we completed those goals, or we met those goals, I would check it off. And if we didn't meet those goals, I marked off, I highlighted them so that I know to bring them back for the following school year. This here is what did I want him to memorize and what did we actually memorize? And then he has his book list where he wrote out a little book review, writes the book name, the author, and how many stars that he gave that book. And then we track our projects. Then we have our goals in terms of the summer goals, what he had and what his goals were for the summer and what my goals for him were for the summer. And then we have a student progress section. I'll talk about this in a different video. But again, in this section, this is where we have those progress sheets. So like I told you, we do quarterly progress reports within our homeschool, and those are derived from these weekly progress check-in sheets that he does. So one sheet has 4 to 5 weeks, and on our business days, our business meetings, on a weekly basis, we would sit and I would say, evaluate yourself. Based on those questions, let's evaluate yourself. And then he did that. Okay. And then we ended the year with a brief photo gallery where I basically showed beginning and ending pictures and different things of what we did, and also identified that we document our journey on YouTube.